Jake stood still in the great hall of the Zelorian Palace. Tall pillars made of glowing crystal rose around him. Alien guards in silver armor watched him closely, though none spoke. Jake adjusted his collar. His Earth-made suit suddenly felt too tight. He had been sent as a peace envoy from Earth. This was supposed to be a simple diplomatic mission: shake hands, share food, smile at the Queen, and then go home with a signed treaty. But everything changed with one strange sentence. "You will live with my daughter," the alien Queen had said. The room had gone silent. Jake wasn't sure if he had heard her correctly. He looked at the translator device clipped to his ear. It blinked green. No error. She had said exactly that. Double quotes. "Live with your daughter?" Jake asked carefully, making sure not to sound disrespectful. The Queen, tall and elegant with deep violet skin and eyes like shining moons, nodded once. "Yes, from now on. You will stay in the Sky Citadel with Princess Arali." Jake's mind raced. Why? Was this part of the treaty? Was he being tested or punished? But the Queen's face showed no emotion. No one in the room questioned her decision, not the ministers, not the guards, not even the tall alien beside her who looked like a royal advisor. Before he could ask anything more, the Queen turned and left the hall. Jake was then led away by two quiet servants. He didn't even get to pack his bag. The Sky Citadel sat above the clouds, floating by strong anti-gravity engines. It was a palace within a palace, used only by royal family members. Few outsiders had ever seen it. As he stepped into the citadel, Jake looked around in awe. Smooth white walls shimmered softly, and the air smelled sweet, like flowers from a forest he had never walked through. The silence was strange, beautiful, but cold. The servants guided him to his new room. It was large, filled with alien furniture that shaped itself to his touch. Everything was clean, glowing slightly in blue light, yet it all felt empty. "Where is the princess?" Jake asked one of the servants. "She is in the observatory." The servant replied and bowed. "You will meet her at first light, with nothing else to do." Jake sat on the soft couch and looked out the wide window. The city of Zelora sparkled below like a sea of stars. But he couldn't enjoy the view. His mind was full of questions. Who was Princess Arali? Why had the Queen ordered him to live here? And why him, of all people? The next morning, just as the twin suns rose over the edge of the sky, a soft chime rang in his room. A servant arrived and led him down a quiet hallway toward the observatory. The doors opened slowly. Jake stepped inside and saw her, Princess Arali. She stood near the edge of the glass room, staring at the stars still visible in the fading night sky. Her long dark robes flowed like mist, and her silver hair sparkled under the light. She looked peaceful, yet distant, like someone lost in another world. Jake cleared his throat softly. "Princess Arali." She turned her head slightly, just enough to glance at him. Her eyes, blue like the deepest ocean, met his for a second. Then she looked away. "So you're the human," she said quietly. Her voice was soft but not warm. There was no greeting, no smile. She didn't ask his name. Jake stepped closer but kept a respectful distance. "Yes, I'm Jake. I was sent by Earth. The Queen asked me to live here." "I know," she said. "I didn't ask for this." The words hit him harder than he expected. He nodded slowly. "I didn't either. But maybe we can make the best of it." She didn't answer. Instead, she turned back to the window and stared into the clouds below. For the next few days, they barely spoke. Jake tried to make small talk, but Arali only responded with short words or silence. She kept to herself, often reading strange floating books or meditating with glowing stones. He ate alone most of the time. The citadel felt like a cage made of light. He started exploring quietly, learning the paths of the citadel. There were gardens filled with soft plants that sang in the wind, a library of alien knowledge that hummed when you walked inside. But no other people, no noise, no laughter. One night, he found Arali sitting in the moon garden. She didn't notice him at first. She was watching a small flower open its petals under the moonlight. He sat down a few steps away. "It's beautiful," he said softly. "It only blooms once a year." She replied without turning. And only under the full twin moons? I'm glad I saw it, he said. A long pause passed between them. Then she spoke again. You're different. Jake blinked. Different how? You don't ask questions. Most people try to understand. Me? You just exist. Jake gave a small smile. Maybe I'm just trying not to mess up. She finally turned to look at him fully. Her face was calm, but her eyes were filled with something deeper, something hidden. You're not like the others, she said again. That might be why Mother chose you. Jake looked back at her. Maybe. Or maybe she just wanted someone who wouldn't run away. Arali held his gaze for a long moment. Then, slowly, she stood up. Come with me, she said. Where? To see something, she said. And for the first time, her voice held a trace of curiosity, something no outsider has seen before. Jake stood up, heart beating a little faster. Whatever this was, he was finally being let in, and he had no idea what was coming next. The next day, Jake woke up feeling different. The night had left him with a strange hope. He dressed quickly and waited outside Arali's door. She stepped out silently, her silver hair shining softly in the morning light. She did not smile, but her eyes looked less cold than before. Ready? She asked simply. Jake nodded. Yes. They walked through the long hallways of the Sky Citadel. The walls seemed to hum with quiet energy, and soft lights floated around like tiny stars. Arali led him to a door he had never seen before. It was large and made of dark metal with strange symbols glowing faintly. This is the energy chamber, she said. Only the royal family is allowed inside. She pressed her hand to the door, and it opened with a low sound. Inside, the room was round and filled with soft blue light. Crystals floated in the air, spinning slowly. Strange machines hummed quietly along the walls. Jake felt a pulse in his chest, a warm feeling he could not explain. He looked at Arali, who was watching him carefully. This is where my power comes from, she said, or at least where I tried to control it. Jake frowned. Your power? Arali nodded. Yes, I'm different from others of my kind. My body, it releases energy that can hurt people. Jake stared at her in surprise. Hurt people? But the Queen said you were special. I am, Arali said, but my power is dangerous. It can cause sickness, pain, even death. So I have lived alone most of my life. Jake took a deep breath. That sounds very hard. Arali's eyes softened a little. It is. I can't be near most aliens. Their bodies react badly. But humans, you don't seem to be affected. Maybe because I'm from Earth, Jake said with a small smile. Our bodies might be different. Arali looked thoughtful. Maybe. She walked over to a crystal floating in the center of the room. She reached out her hand, and the crystal glowed brighter. This helps me keep the energy in balance, she explained. Without it, I could lose control. Jake watched as small sparks of light danced around her fingers. He felt a strange warmth, but not fear. Have you ever lost control? He asked quietly. Arali shook her head. Not completely, but once. A long time ago, my power hurt someone I cared about. Her voice broke, and for a moment, Jake saw pain in her eyes. I'm sorry, he said softly. She gave a small nod. It's why Mother wants me to learn to trust others, and why she asked you to live here. Jake was silent. The Queen's order now made more sense. This was not punishment. It was a chance. Over the next days, Jake spent hours in the energy chamber with Arali. She taught him how to stay calm near her, how to sense the waves of energy she sent out without fear. He learned that her power was connected to her emotions. When she was angry or scared, the energy flared. When she was calm or happy, it softened. One afternoon, as they practiced, Arali suddenly laughed a clear, bright sound Jake had never heard from her before. You're not bad at this, she said. Teasingly. Jake grinned. Thanks. I'm learning from the best teacher. Slowly, the ice between them began to melt. Outside the chamber, Jake noticed more changes. The palace staff who once ignored him now gave polite nods. The royal guards who had watched him suspiciously seemed less tense. But not everyone was happy. One day, as Jake walked through the palace gardens. He overheard two nobles talking in low voices. The queen's trust in humans is a weakness. One said, "Sending that earthling here is dangerous. What if he betrays us? Arali's condition is a threat to our people," the other replied. "Living with a human will only bring trouble." Jake's heart beat faster. He knew that the palace was full of secrets and dangers he didn't understand. He hurried back to the citadel and told Arali what he had heard. She frowned deeply. "There are those who want to control me or remove me." "Remove you?" Jake asked, shocked. "Yes," Arali said. "Some believe I am a danger. Others think the queen is weak for protecting me." Jake clenched his fists. "We have to be careful. I won't let anyone hurt you." Arali looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and something like trust. That night, as they sat in the moon garden, Arali spoke more openly than before. "I was not always alone," she said. "When I was younger, I had friends, but they left when they saw what I could do." "That must have been hard," Jake said. "It was," Arali whispered. "Sometimes I wished I was like everyone else, but other times I felt like my power was a gift, something that could protect my people if I learned to use it." Jake smiled gently. "I believe you can." She looked at him, her eyes shining. "Thank you, Jake." The stars above seemed to glow brighter, as if the universe itself was watching their strange friendship grow. Jake realized that living with Arali was not just about diplomacy anymore. It was about understanding, trust, and maybe even hope. And the story was only just beginning. The days passed slowly in the Sky Citadel, but tension quietly grew beneath its calm surface. Jake could feel it. The palace was not just a place of peace and beauty, it was also a place of secrets and hidden dangers. One afternoon, while walking through the grand library, Jake overheard a whispered conversation between two nobles. They spoke in hushed tones, but the words were clear enough. "The queen's decision to allow that human near Arali threatens our traditions," said one. "If the others find out, the empire could fall into chaos. We must act," the other whispered. "Arali's power is unpredictable, and humans, they cannot be trusted." Jake's heart raced. He knew these whispers were not just empty words. Some in the palace wanted to remove Arali and push the queen aside. He hurried to find Arali. She was in the energy chamber, practicing control over her glowing crystal. "Arali, we need to talk," Jake said quietly. She stopped and looked at him with serious eyes. "What is it?" "Some nobles are planning against you and your mother," he said. "They don't want a human here. They think you're a danger." Arali's face hardened. "I expected this. Fear and hate have followed me all my life. We have to be careful," Jake warned. "I don't want you to get hurt." She nodded slowly. "Thank you, Jake. Your presence gives me strength." That night, the citadel felt colder. Shadows moved in the hallways, and Jake knew they were being watched. He spent hours talking with Arali about the history of her people. She told him of a time when humans and Zelorians were allies long ago, centuries before the queen's rule. "There was a hero," Arali said softly, "a human who saved my ancestors from destruction. But his story was lost, erased by time and politics." Jake was fascinated. "Maybe that's why you and I connect." "Perhaps," Arali said, her eyes shining. "And maybe it is time to remember." One evening, Arali invited Jake to explore a secret part of the citadel, the old archives, hidden beneath the palace. They moved through narrow tunnels lined with glowing stones. The air was cool and smelled of ancient dust. At the end of the tunnel, they found a heavy door covered in symbols. Arali placed her hand on the door, and it opened with a soft hum. Inside, shelves held old artifacts and holographic records. Jake scanned the data with wonder. "Look at this," Arali said, pointing to a hologram of a shining crystal. "This is the source of my power, the heart of our people." She touched the image, and the room filled with images of battles, heroes, and strange machines. "These are the lost stories," Jake whispered. "Stories of humans and Zelorians fighting side by side." Arali smiled for the first time in weeks. "I never knew this. Mother kept it hidden to protect me." "But why?" Jake asked. "Because knowledge can be dangerous," Arali said. "And some fear the past more than the future." They spent hours studying the archives. Jake felt closer to Arali than ever before. But outside, danger was growing. One night, rebels among the nobles launched a surprise attack on the citadel. Their goal was to capture Arali and force the queen to step down. Jake and Arali were caught in the middle. "We must protect the queen," Jake said firmly. Arali nodded, her hands glowing with energy. "I will do what I can." As the rebels stormed the halls, Jake used his knowledge of the palace to guide Arali safely. Together, they faced the attackers. Arali's power was strong but controlled. She created a shield of light that pushed back the rebels without hurting them. Jake fought bravely, helping to defend the queen's chambers. In the chaos, Jake saved the queen from a fall and shielded Arali from an attacker's strike. The battle ended quickly. The rebels were captured and taken away. After the fight, the queen met with Jake and Arali. "You have both proven your loyalty," she said with pride. "This kingdom needs trust, not fear." Arali looked at Jake and smiled. "Thank you for standing with me." Jake smiled back. "I'm just getting started." The palace was safe for now, but Jake knew their journey had only begun. Secrets from the past and dangers from the present would test them both, and together, they would face whatever came next. After the attack, the palace felt different. The queen's smile was stronger, and Arali's steps lighter. But beneath the peace, a new mystery waited. Jake and Arali spent their days in the old archives, searching for answers about her powers and the ancient human hero. One afternoon, while exploring a dusty chamber, Arali's hand brushed against a hidden panel. The wall slid open, revealing a secret room. Inside, machines hummed quietly, and a large crystal pulsed with soft light. It was the same type from the holograms, a heart of power, glowing with unknown energy. "This must be the source," Arali whispered on her voice. Jake stepped closer. "It's beautiful. What does it do?" Arali reached out, and the crystal's light touched her skin. Suddenly, visions flooded her mind, memories not her own. She saw a human warrior, brave and kind, fighting side by side with Zelorian heroes. She saw battles, sacrifices, and hope. She saw a promise between two worlds. Jake watched, amazed. "You're seeing their story?" Arali nodded slowly. "This is more than power. It's a connection between humans and Zelorians." They spent hours studying the room. The crystal seemed to hold the key to Arali's powers and her people's lost history. But as they learned, danger returned. The nobles who had failed to capture Arali were not done. They whispered in dark halls, planning their next move. One evening, Jake found a message hidden in the archives. It warned of a secret group that wanted to steal the crystal's power. "This could destroy the citadel," Jake said, showing the message to Arali. She frowned. "We must protect it, together." They set new defenses around the chamber. Arali used her power carefully, strengthening the shields without causing harm. Jake alerted the queen. She praised their courage and gave them more resources. "The future depends on understanding the past," the queen said. "You both carry the hope of two worlds." As days turned into weeks, Jake and Arali grew closer. They shared stories of their homes, their fears, and dreams. Arali taught Jake the ancient language of her people. Jake showed her how humans found joy in simple things: music, laughter, friendship. One night, under the twin moons, Arali finally smiled fully at Jake. "I never thought I could trust anyone," she said. "But you changed that." Jake felt a warmth in his heart. "And you gave me a new home." But the peace was fragile. One dark night, the secret group struck. They sneaked into the palace, aiming to take the crystal. Alarms blared. Jake and Arali rushed to the chamber. They faced enemies armed with strange weapons. The battle was fierce but short. Arali's power shone brightly. She did not fight to kill but to protect. Jake stood by her side, using his quick mind to outsmart the attackers. Together, they defended the crystal and the citadel. When the fight ended, the queen appeared, proud and relieved. "You have saved us all," she said. Arali looked at Jake. "We faced many challenges, but together we are strong." Jake nodded. "This is only the beginning." The alien queen's order was no longer a surprise or a test. It was the start of a new journey for Jake, Orali, and the future of two worlds united. The palace was calm, but beneath the surface, the threat of rebellion still lingered. The nobles who opposed the queen's trust in humans were growing bolder. Jake knew they had to prepare for anything. Orali spent hours in the energy chamber, training to control her power better. Jake stayed by her side, learning and helping however he could. One evening, as they walked through the moon garden, Orali stopped and looked up at the stars. "Do you think we can change the future?" she asked quietly. Jake smiled. "We have to try." Suddenly, the ground trembled. Alarms echoed through the citadel. "They're coming," Orali said, her eyes glowing softly. Outside, the rebels had launched a full attack. Their ships surrounded the sky citadel, firing energy blasts at the defenses. Jake and Orali rushed to the queen's side. "Protect the palace," the queen commanded. Orali stepped forward, her hands glowing with bright energy. She created a shield around the citadel, pushing back the blast. Jake helped coordinate the defense, using his knowledge of the palace layout to guide soldiers. The rebels broke through the outer gates. Fighting erupted in the halls. Jake fought alongside the royal guards, holding back attackers. In the chaos, Orali's power grew stronger. She lifted her hands and released a wave of light that stopped the rebels without hurting them. But the leader of the rebels charged toward the queen's chamber. Jake saw him and moved quickly. He blocked the attacker's path and fought with skill and courage. The battle was fierce, but Jake won. The queen was safe. After the fight, the rebels were captured and taken away. The queen called a meeting in the Great Hall. "Your bravery saved the empire," she said to Jake and Orali. "You have proven that trust and courage can overcome fear." Orali looked at Jake and smiled. "Thank you for believing in me." Jake nodded. "We are stronger together." The palace was quiet again, but Jake knew the peace would not last forever. As he stood beside Orali, he realized that living with the alien princess was not what he expected. It was something much greater, chance to change the fate of two worlds, and he was ready for whatever came next. After the battle, the Sky Citadel felt alive with new hope. The queen's trust in Jake and Orali had changed the hearts of many. Even some nobles who once opposed them now spoke with respect. One morning, Jake stood on the balcony, watching the twin suns rise. Orali joined him silently, her eyes soft with a new light. "You can go home now." "Jake," she said gently. He shook his head. "I don't want to. This place, and you, have become my home." Orali smiled, a warm and real smile that reached her eyes. "Then stay," she said. "Be by my side not as a guest, but as my protector and friend." Jake felt a deep honor. He had come as a diplomat, but found something much more. The queen called a great gathering. She spoke of a new era, one where humans and Zelorians would work together, sharing knowledge and strength. "Jake," the queen said, "you have shown courage, kindness, and loyalty. For that, I name you the first human protector of Zelora." The crowd cheered, and Jake felt a proud warmth in his chest. Orali stood beside him, her hand lightly touching his arm. "We face many challenges still, but together we are unstoppable." In the days that followed, Jake and Orali worked to heal old wounds and build new bridges. They shared stories, laughter, and dreams of peace. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Jake looked at Orali. "I never expected to find this here," he said softly. "A friend, a home, and a purpose." Orali smiled and leaned close. "And I never expected to trust so fully." They stood together, watching the stars to different worlds, united by hope and courage. The queen's order had changed everything, and Jake knew whatever the future held, they would face it side by side.